Saga Hellblade 2 is another Viking-worthy feast for the senses that meets the high bar set by its predecessor, even if it never really manages to clear it.
They've barely scraped together 5 hours of content, and what is here is either moderately or barely improved, or is straight up significantly worse than the original game, from before they were owned by a $3 trillion company.
So in conclusion, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is a phenomenal game. Like no one can argue that. It looks incredible. But
Game? Who gives a f about that? I like New World. Does anybody care? No. Nobody gives a sh.
Cypher, would it be possible also to keep it family friendly by any chance, please?
Oh yeah, sorry about that, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. You the man. Appreciate ya.
Hellblade 2 is a game that has had some of the most mixed feedback I have seen this year.
Luca! Bueno? Piñu! Bueno? Piñu!
With many people praising the game, saying that it has a leap forward in graphical fidelity and that motion capture has never been done like this before. However, others bash the game for its shortness and its expensive cost. So of course that brings up the question, is Hellblade 2 really good? Well, I remember watching the first trailer for Hellblade 2, thinking to myself, yeah, this looks pretty good.
Oh man, now that looks good.
And I even told myself I would make sure to get it when it releases. But is the game actually worth it? And is it actually good? Well, in this ultimate review, let's find out if Hellblade 2 is truly a good game, or is it something more or less. Now I'm going to do what I did for Still Wakes the Deep and analyse the main menu for Hellblade 2. Hellblade 2 has a cold main menu. It's quite clear that it takes the same style as Hellblade 1's main menu, but just heavily improves on it, making Hellblade 2's main menu feel and look a lot more cinematic. The menu options are laid out simply and easy to find, and as for Hellblade 2's main menu's art, it looks near perfect, with Senua being located on the far right of the screen, being engulfed by hands wrapping around her face and some dark smoke coming out from behind her. There's also some very somber music coming from the background which sets the tone of the game very well. This is a perfect main menu screen, simple but effective. Hellblade Senua's Saga, or Hellblade 2 for short, is the direct sequel to Hellblade 1 and follows directly after Hellblade 1. The opening cinematic to Hellblade 2 is a short summary of everything that happened in Hellblade 1. To sum Hellblade 1 up in short, Senua lost her lover to a sacrifice done by the Northmen who invaded her lover's village. Her only way to get Dillion back, her lover, come on, keep up, would be to travel to the realm of Helheim, where the goddess of death, Hela, is, as Hela is the only one who can grant Dillion his life back. However, in the end, Senua is killed, but plot twist, she isn't killed, and in the end, Hela actually dies, as Senua accepts that Dillion's death was not her fault, and nor was a plague that came to Dillion's village. Well, I hear you all asking, why would Senua think any of that was her fault? Well, I left out this tiny detail that Senua actually suffers from Sigma syndrome, aka pretty much schizophrenia. However, in the game, it's called the Furies, voices in Senua's head that talk to her, guide her, and even mock her. Senua's abusive father drilled into her head that bad things happen to good people because of Senua's Furies, and said that Senua was cursed. This of course led Senua to meet Dillion, who didn't believe she was cursed and just believed that people didn't understand her. By the end of the first game, she kind of accepts to live with her Furies a little bit better, and overall she has a better understanding of who she is as a person and is more confident. The game starts and we see a dark, rainy storm with rough seas. The fears explain that Senua is here to take down the Master, the leader of the Northmen, the men who came into Dillion's village and sacrificed everyone.
And then the Northmen came again to our land, stripping us of our names, our lives, of everything that makes us who we are, beating and binding, taking us as slaves.
Now why do they do this? Well, the Northmen believe to keep giants away they have to have sacrifices, and while these sacrifices do work, they work at the cost of innocent lives to protect the Northmen's own. Hellblade 2 takes place on Earth, but Earth didn't always have giants. The realms that once separated human, giants, and many other mystical beast-like things are now together as one world in danger. Senua has allowed herself to be captured by the Northmen so she can meet their leader. leader. We see Senua for the first time and we can instantly tell that this game is a feat of graphical engineering. The game literally looks like a cinema experience, and I mean that constantly, not just in cutscenes and gameplay too.
How's this, Squidward?
It's beautiful!
And you can tell the devs wanted this cinematic feeling as they keep this cinematic camera-like setting on throughout the whole game. The other thing you instantly notice is that the game has to be played with headphones. In fact, booting up Hellblade 2, you will be told this game is best played with headphones. Now, I do have a confession to make. I am a new gen when it comes to the Hellblade series. In fact, Hellblade 2 was my first Hellblade. I have played Hellblade 1 now, but I did start with Hellblade 2. So I was not prepared for these two voices talking into both of my ears, going from left to right constantly, and it gave me quite the shock. I am not even gonna lie, the voices are really tripping me out right now. But in a great way. The fears are perfect for not only cinematic experience, but also story and gameplay experience. These two voices are constantly in your ears, and it's the only thing you can hear pretty much constantly throughout the entirety of the game.
He's wounded. He won't try anything. You have to keep your eyes on him. You can feel it, that voice. Summoning that voice. What's down there? This place. Rotten. Look.
But it truly works so well and makes you feel like you are Senua, not just watching Senua, but you physically are her. It's also just incredible for schizophrenia awareness, as it really helps you to understand how someone with a mental condition like this lives. Of course, this isn't a new gameplay mechanic, Hellblade 1 had this as well, but I just wanted to point it out because it truly still is an incredible feat of technology and engineering from the guys at Hellblade, and a brilliant idea. If you want to play either of the Hellblade games, I would suggest heavily suggest playing them with headphones. It makes the overall experience much more incredible, and I couldn't imagine playing this game without headphones. And that's weird for me because I normally have it just blasting through my TV like a degenerate.
Xbox and go to bed. I'm coming down there and you're going to be in a lot of bloody trouble. How many times do I have to tell you?
You know what, while we're on the topic of the Furies, let's talk about them a little bit more. The Furies don't just appear while you're walking around or while there's a cinematic cutscene, like I said before, but they're actually a very crucial part of Hellblade 2's gameplay. The Furies in Hellblade 1 are a lot more negative and a lot more aggressive, whereas this time around they're a lot more tame. This also means they're a lot more helpful. Just like Hellblade 1, they'll try and keep you alive when you're in danger or when you're in a fight, and they'll even give you advice, telling you when to dodge, telling you when to attack, and telling you to learn your enemy's moveset. They're basically the equivalent of telling you when to dodge like in a Spider-Man or Batman game. If the player is also struggling with puzzles, they may also give you a few hints, helping the player out. To me, still now, this is a really cool feature, and I really want to praise Hellblade 2 for it, but I can't, because this isn't exactly a new feature. This was all in Hellblade 1. And to be honest, there's no new gameplay element to do with the Furies. They still do the exact same thing gameplay-wise that they did in Hellblade 1. The only difference being that, of course, they talk about different things because it's a different game, and overall they're a lot more supportive in this game. However, they can still turn negative very quickly. Anyway, back to the story. The boat you're on crashes, because of course it does, and Senua is plunged into the deep dark ocean below. You are given control, and the first section of the game is really just here to get you immersed in the game's atmosphere and setting. As well, we get introduced to a third voice, that voice being Senua's father, Zynbel. Zynbel is purely negative and only says negative things to Senua to try and wear her down and almost punish her.
Doomed to fail. All this way. Just to die among strangers.
Okay, mi gente. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah 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 blah.
It's important to note that Zynbel is only cinematic and story purpose. He doesn't play a part in the actual gameplay of Hellblade 2. And this was the same of Hellblade 1 as well. Senua slowly climbs up a cliff face and we can just hear the incredible audio design of Hellblade 2.
She is afraid, exhausted,
The game truly looks and sounds incredible. You begin to walk through the world and damn, I cannot get over how good the game looks. We can hear the cry of a woman in the distance and Senua runs to help her. Don't forget that Senua is not just here to stop the Northmen, but she's here to save as many slaves as she can.
Senua, listen. She needs you. She needs help. She needs you to go to her quickly. She's dying. That shit is pathetic. She needs you.
Every innocent death that Senua sees, she is deeply hurt by and feels that it is her fault.
Do it now. The slavers are monsters. Look what they do to us. They are brutal.
No more. I will stop this.
It's then also at this point where we find our first collectible for the game. Hellblade 1 had these things called lore stones which you could interact with to get a little bit more lore about the realm of Helheim. Whereas of course in Hellblade 2 you can access these stones to learn more about the realm of Midheim. No, I'm not kidding. Earth, the world of man, is called Midheim. That is too funny. Now, other than the new lore stones looking more like large sticks with a skull on top, there is really no difference to Hellblade 1's lore stones. In fact, they're even voiced by the same guy, a man called Druth, an Irish adventurer that Senua met. Back to the game, you see a Northman in the distance, so decide to follow him. The Northman kills someone, and then the Fears attack and berate Senua for not saving him.
What? Fight him! Why didn't you stop it? Too slow. Too weak.
Let her die.
He is right. They were survivors. I need to help the other slaves.
You let her die.
Her father, Zenbel, continues to attack Senua, and we can see it starting to really affect her.
The lost one.
Don't listen to him. Listen to us, not him. Listen to You're a liar!
Moving forward, our path is blocked, and this is where our first puzzle is introduced in Hellblade 2. Hellblade 2 has quite a few different puzzles, but the main one you will be doing is the same main one from Hellblade 1. What will happen is simple. Your path will be obstructed, and you will have to try and find the symbol that appears blocking your way using the focus button. It's the exact same as Hellblade 1, except a lot less finicky. Hellblade 1's symbol puzzle could often be confusing because you'd think you were standing in the right place to find the symbol, only for the game to reveal to you 20 minutes later that you had to be a little bit more to the left or right.
See, now that's some bullshit.
Whereas once you think you found the symbol in Hellblade 2, you'll almost always get it. Some puzzles from Hellblade 1, such as the disappearing bridge puzzle, never take place in Hellblade 2, and overall I think this is an improvement to the smoothness of the puzzles, as getting rid of these finicky, broken, or weird puzzles is overall an improvement to the game. And fixing up on the core puzzles really helps to make the puzzles more fun to complete and do. You make your way through what looks like an endless pile of dead bodies. Senua begins to see the dead in their last moments.
There's nothing you can do.
Do you see the bodies, Senua? The sea throws them up to show you how you've lost. Look at them, Senua.
And it becomes very confusing whether Senua is hallucinating this or whether she really can see the dead. Senua, trying to find more survivors, follows the shadow of a man trying to escape, however is thrown to the floor by a Northman. Senua and the man have a scuffle on the ground and it's intense. It ends up with Senua grabbing the Northman's sword and killing him with it.
Watch out! Don't let them capture you again! Are you going to let him kill you? Come! Oh, listen, don't die now! Yes, use your You do not deserve to die here, Senua.
This short 6-second interaction is mocap wrapped so well and overall feels so intense and so incredible. Once you grab your sword, a Northman from the distance approaches with a large sword himself, ushering you towards him for a fight, and this is where the combat begins. Now let's talk about Hellblade 2's combat, because it's quite different from Hellblade 1's combat, but at the same time it shares quite a lot of the similarities of Hellblade 1's combat. The two most noticeable things about Hellblade 2's combat, and arguably the most controversial things, are as follows. 1. The combat is a lot, and I mean a lot more slower paced than Hellblade 1's. And 2, the combat is now only one-on-one. You won't be fighting groups of enemies like you did in Hellblade 1. Let's first talk about combat being slowed down. Hellblade 1 has some very fast combat. Senua will rapidly and quickly, often slashing and dashing her sword against her enemies. This of course is now not the case. Combat feels a lot more weighty and a lot heavier. Now what do I think about this? Well, personally I think combat feels a lot more smooth because of the choice to slow it down. Overall, combat is also a lot less glitchy and a lot less finicky, with each slash feeling like you're really doing the enemy some serious harm, and each parry feeling like you're only pulling it off by the skin of your teeth. However, I won't lie, while I think it's a really important gameplay improvement, I also think it's kind of strange from a lore perspective, as it makes Senua feel a lot less experienced with a sword than she was in the first game. But I would say you have to remember that in the last game, Senua was in a completely different realm, so the laws of physics in that realm may have been completely different to, of course, mid-high. So I would give it a pass, because overall it makes combat feel that much more important and more intense. And I'm not saying there isn't fast sword gameplay in Hellblade 2, because there is, but I'll touch on that a little bit more later. Okay, so what about the switch from fighting multiple enemies at once to just fighting one enemy at a time? Now, in my opinion, without a doubt, this was the right thing to do. Hellblade is a much slower paced game, therefore it makes sense to engage in one-on-one combat. While playing Hellblade 1, I could really notice that the game was not meant for fighting multiple enemies. When trying to move your camera, it would bug out and clip into walls, or when trying to look at the enemy behind you, you'd accidentally look at the enemy in front of you and therefore die. Multiple times my camera clipped into walls or bugged out, or I'd accidentally select the wrong enemy, getting me killed. The switch to one-on-one combat makes the game feel much more refined, polished, and overall the game's much better because of it. The only place it kind of feels weird is when you're fighting on your own in like a cave against cannibals, because then it's like they're waiting for you to be done with their friends so they can jump you. But that being said, I will take this refined, well-placed one-on-one system to Hellblade 1's more chaotic multiple enemy system, which just didn't work half the time. Now let's talk about the gameplay. Hellblade 1's combat gameplay was simple. It had an attack, a strange block, a parry, a heavy attack, and a kick, as well as your mirror, but we'll come to that a bit later in the video. Hellblade 2 pretty much has the same combat mechanics as Hellblade 1, other than the removal of the kick feature, as this pretty much just does what the heavy attack does. The combat is simple, especially at the start of the game, where you're fighting pretty much only white bald men with swords.
Okay. Come on, who are you then?
Ronnie Pickering!
Who?
Ronnie Pickering!
Who?
Ronnie Pickering!
There are quite a few new enemy types in Hellblade 2, but I'll talk about each one as they appear in the game. As for now, all you need to know is you can attack, parry, use a heavy attack for more damage, and block. Senua finds a shipwreck with what she thinks is survivors inside. Going inside the wreck, we can see bodies everywhere. And as we make our way deeper and deeper inside the shipwreck, we can hear the sounds of laughter getting louder and louder.
Stupid girl.
She was wrong.
You thought they were real. Did you really? You don't know.
Senua discovers that they are all dead and begins to panic, realizing that the voices she heard were all inside her head. After a short struggle, she makes her way out the ship. Senua finds the enslaver, and our first boss fight begins.
Slave, come here.
He's still alive. The enslaver. Remember him alive. Don't kill him.
What are you going to do with that sword, bro?
He looks ready for you. He is ready to fight.
You ready? We will end this.
You're fucking dead.
The music during this boss fight is incredible. The first phase of the boss fight, the Enslaver uses 2 weapons, so you will have to stay on your toes to dodge his attacks. It's clear the Enslaver is much more skilled than you, but he lets you live each time he bests you because, well, a dead slave wouldn't do him much good. The second phase of the fight, he only has his sword. You will have to learn his attack pattern and attack him when he's open. And the final phase of the boss fight, he only has his sword once again, but just lower health this time. The boss fight isn't too hard, but it's very intense as the slaver bests you over and over again. Senua manages to catch the slaver off guard and bests him, however, just as she's going to kill him, she stops.
He took their lives. He again. What are you waiting for? Wait. Do it now. You can't kill him.
As she realizes she will need him to know where to go to find the rest of the slaves. This is overall a perfect intro boss fight. It's not too hard, the stakes still feel very high, and the setting is perfect, as well as the sound design and music is on point. And with that, chapter 1 is complete. Senua asks the slaver what the sign means that he's wearing. The slaver explains that his father rules these lands, and without him all the people would be dead.
Is my father Sigil?
His father.
Your father.
The Gothi.
Monster.
He's here.
Look at him.
No.
The shadow.
But this place is his. The people here are weak. They would not survive without his help.
Forcing the slaver to walk, you can see the deep-rooted hatred he has for you.
We should have thrown you overboard.
Oh no!
I wish you had drowned like the others. No. Just wait till I get free.
It's probably easy for him after all, as he doesn't even view the slaves as real people, just sacrifices. You make it to a crumbling village and the slaver makes it very clear he wants to go no further.
Listen to yourself.
What is beyond there is too dark.
We are leaving. Now.
Don't give me orders, slaver.
He mentions a faction called the Draga, seeming to almost fear them when he says it.
You have no idea what you're walking into.
He wants you to death.
Just turn around.
No, we can't leave.
Senua, however, knows she has to go in there, so decides to try to find another way in. The slaver speaks with more fear about these so-called Draga, and he further goes on to explain how terrifying they truly are.
You haven't honored these graves. What happened?
I told you. Draga.
Who are they?
Are they
They
human?
won't just kill you.
Are they from this world or another world?
It is far worse.
Senua can feel something inside and says she has to go in, but the slaver at this point completely refuses to go into the village.
Going.
Screams of the dead.
There's something here.
They are
I need to find out what it is.
They're dead.
You're mad.
She's not mad. Doesn't see the signs.
Don't make sense.
Stupid. He doesn't.
You're mad.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't see the signs.
There is no way. I am going in there.
It seems at this point that the game is going to give you a choice to kill the slaver or to let him live and leave him behind, but it doesn't. Instead, Senua just ties him up and leaves him behind. It was kind of weird. I really thought the game would give you a choice here, but it doesn't. Fair enough. Entering the village, you can see that it has been completely massacred, with bodies lying absolutely everywhere. You can hear the voices of the dead all around you, and it's at this point Senua starts to have flashbacks of what happened to her village. Your path is then obstructed, and you will need to find 3 symbols to continue forward. You solve a puzzle and are transported to a hallucination where you can see Senua in front of some kind of small house. It's revealed that this is her home, and we can hear Senua's mum talking.
Senua, it's home.
Senua. You've come home.
Inside the house we can find a mirror, the same mirror that allowed you to slow down time in the last game. The house rapidly breaks apart and glass figures with swords approach you. The only way to kill them is to use your new mirror ability. In the original Hellblade, you could use a mirror to slow down time. Hellblade 2 is no different. You slow down time, become much faster, and pretty much are guaranteed a kill on the enemy you're fighting. The game will have you fight independently for a short amount of time, which will charge up the mirror ability. Once you use it, you'll be able to kill enemies instantly with the mirror. I say instantly, it's more like 3 hits, but still. This of course is that fast sword gameplay I was talking about earlier, and this makes you appreciate that faster combat that much more, because of course throughout Hellblade 2 you're being very slow, so when you get that boost, that energy boost of that fastness, it makes the player turned on instantly. Wait, hold up. Nothing has actually been changed about the mirror itself, it just feels so satisfying of course because of that normally slow gameplay. In this section of the game there are a few new enemy types introduced. One new enemy type that appears in many Hallucinations is this large figure with an axe who will slam it into the ground to make spikes come up. Of course, you will have to be quick on your feet to dodge these attacks. It's quite a fun attack to try and avoid, and I'm very happy that we now have 2 new enemy types, as in Hellblade 1 you were pretty much only fighting the same sort of enemies throughout the whole game. You make it out the flashback and Senua is clearly reminded of her past, her village being completely destroyed. She manages to fight off her father's thoughts and continues forward.
But you will never be free of this.
His pain, his suffering.
However far you go, it will hold you forever in darkness.
The only way. Take your darkness with you. It's yours. Be in control of it.
You will never leave your past behind. It binds you here.
Drown in the memory of him.
Helpless.
She will be lost in grief forever.
I carry it with me.
Hold on to it.
It drives me forward.
She cannot forget.
It's a promise.
Making it out of the village, you can hear distant screams of people.
That scream. That voice. Something dark, Senua.
In the distance you can hear chanting. It's clear something dark is here. And it's here where we see our first Draga in game, slashing the head off someone. The Draga are evil supernatural beings that wreak havoc on normal people. They're basically demons from hell. You fight them in Hellblade 1 and that's the only enemy type you fight in Hellblade 1. They torture and sacrifice pretty much anyone in their path. They eat their victims and strike fear into everyone around them, understandably enough. Senua seems completely terrified at this moment, and you can't really blame her. The last time she saw these things, she was in a completely different realm, so it must be a shock to her to see them in Midhigh. Then, for the first time, looking down, we can see some kind of ritual the Draga are doing. We can see a man tied up. But something strange happens. We start to hear him narrate and talk about how he came to this land to heal people.
Overcome by fear and hate. However dark it seemed, I always found a ray of light. In this wretched land, by far the darkest of them all, it seemed the shadow would never lift. But I knew I would find my light.
Senua is drawn to this man as he seems to have some sort of supernatural power. Senua knows she must save him no matter what. Moving forward, you see the diabolical scenes of the Draga murdering more and more people. The scenes are utterly brutal and they do a really good job of showing just how horrific and brutal the Draga are. If you think the Northmen are bad, then these guys make them look like angels. And this explains why the slaver was so terrified of the Draga. She makes it to the strange man and tries to cut him down, but a fight breaks out and the slaves try to get free, and you are thrown into this fight. The Draga fight a lot more violent than normal human enemies do. They can also, of course, considering they're from a different realm, take quite a few more hits to kill. There are new enemies that use axes. These enemies will fight a lot more quicker than other enemies, so you will have to move fast. The best new enemy type introduced, however, is a fire-spitting enemy, an enemy that launches fire at you that you will have to dodge. Dodging these attacks, you will then have to find your perfect moment to attack yourself. I really like this as it keeps you on your toes the whole time and adds that little bit of ranged combat into Hellblade. It also almost forces you to play a little bit on the back foot, very defensively. Speaking more on ranged enemies, there is an enemy that will now throw axes at you. Like the fire enemy, you will have to dodge these attacks before closing the distance to take down this enemy. The music during this section feels perfect, and it's very intense. Overall, it's a perfect introduction fight to the Draga. There is a break in the combat and Senua takes this opportunity to try and cut down the man tied up. While she's trying to save the man, he asks her what her name is.
What's he going to do?
Yes.
We have no time, Senua. Earth is shattering. He is not ready. Set him free.
What is your name?
Senua. He is not free yet.
I've been waiting for you.
Do it.
And in the background, the demons seem to be trying to summon something.
His voice terrifies.
The floor begins to rapidly break, and Senua and the man make it out by the skin of their teeth. The man reveals that they were trying to summon a giant to kill them, but they couldn't because it's day, and giants can't come out during the day. The wise man now tells you his name, Fargrimr.
My name is Fargrimr. I come from a settlement nearby. I came here to seek help.
He almost died.
The Freyslaug had fallen to the Draga.
And to something
I
else.
walked into a massacre.
The giant's name is Eltoga, the one they were trying to summon. Fargrimr asks that Senua comes with him, and he will help her as much as he can.
Return home to my people.
Go with him. He can help you.
If you come with me, I will offer you what help I can. But I have to warn you, the creature stalks my village. We can offer you refuge for a time, but not safety.
You've seen her before.
They have no hope.
To my cost. To everyone's cost. She haunts this
They
land
have lost
from here to my village in Red Hills.
He explains that the giant Eltoga hurts people in these lands, and hurts them bad. Senua talks about her past and explains to Fargrimr how she got here. Fargrimr tells her the slave master's name is Thorcaster. The two seem to have some sort of history together.
So you're from Orkneyar by your accent. How did you come here?
As a slave. I have the slave master tied down there.
He brought you here. The master. Maybe he escaped. We don't know his name. We do now.
I didn't ask his name.
Þorkistur of Borgarvirki.
There. We need to go there. He knows. He knows.
Fargrimr is a mysterious man. He doesn't seem to be a threat, and he feels like someone Senua can trust. However, there's something off about him. I feel like he clearly has a past that he hasn't quite told us yet. You get back to Thorcaster, and now Senua knows once more that she does not need him, and she can just use Fargrimr to get where she needs to now. Leaving Thorcaster here, however, he is almost guaranteed to die of starvation or be taken by the Draga. Either way, leaving him here, he will die.
Leave him. I don't need him. You can tell me where I need to go.
He cares about him.
But if you leave him, he will die. Draga. Or simply starvation.
But it's here at this point that Thorcaster for the first time shows his true unfiltered fear. He simply says two words, those two words being,
"Help me."
And it's from just these two words alone we can get a sense that Thorcaster is not only just desperate, but he is scared, and he's now becoming closer and closer to admitting it. Once again, it really feels like the game is going to give you a choice here. Leave him to die or take him with you, but of course it doesn't, and Senua makes that choice for you. She sees that there is good in him and decides to take him with her.
Not just a monster. She saw it. A ray of light. He is evil. There is no choice.
It's interesting to me that Fargrimr does not interject himself into this conflict. He completely lets Senua decide for herself whether to take Thorkester with them or not. As if you were going to put this on a spectrum, Fargrimr out of the 3 characters on the screen seems to be the one with the most moral standard, as after Senua decides to take Thorkester with her, Fargrimr without a doubt offers to treat his wound.
Wait! She's not listening to us. Stupid. She is saving him. That monster.
Our wound looks bad, Thorkester.
I don't want to talk to
Well, if you accept my hospitality, I can have it treated.
Thorkester accepts this offer and seems to be really fucking grateful for it.
I will come with you, but this changes nothing. Do not expect any gratitude from me or my father.
How could I?
Oh, it's here where Senua is also told that Eltoga, the big beast, is a giant. I know you guys already know that. I wanted to tell you because it was easier to do in the script. Sorry guys, I spoiled it for you.
Hey yo, that ass G, my bad pimp. That's just what happened when you a motherfucking real ass boss, real motherfucking player, G.
Fargrimr explains that the giants only come out at night, which would lead you to believe people are safe for a long time during the day.
The giants hide by day and hunt at night. You may think, well, at least there's some respite by day.
However, as winter draws nearer and nearer, nights become more and more common.
But know this, the nights grow longer, and come winter, there is no day.
This is the first cutscene that isn't being narrated by any of Senua's fears, and I think that shows and tells the player just how not only spiritually important Fargrimr is, but also how important he will be to the rest of the game's plot. Fargrimr explains that his settlement is in danger constantly as it is attacked over and over again by Eltoga. They have tried to leave many times, but they can't, as no matter how far they get, by night Eltoga is hunting them down and killing them all.
Eltoga stalks my settlement when night falls. She tramples our crops and kills what little livestock we've left. We're starving.
Why don't you leave?
We've tried.
They failed.
No matter how far we get by day, as night falls, she hunts us down. And there's children here. People too weak to run.
Thorkester, seeing all of this chaos, says to Fargrimr that he should have joined him when he had the chance, proving that the two do have quite the history together.
I can't reach them.
You should have joined us when we offered you the chance.
Fargrimr says there is no honor in the path that Thorkester has chosen.
There is no honor in the path you've chosen.
And then Thorkester accepts this and says some really kind and lovely words.
Say that again, old man, and I'll gut you like a fish.
Fargrimr tells Thorkester to think who the real enemy is, obviously meaning the giants. The conversation goes silent and then the three of you move off once more.
Look around you. Have a thought as to who your real enemy is.
What does he mean? Who is the real enemy?
The giants are the real enemy.
No honor. He said there was no honor in the enslaver's path.
Which path did he choose?
This place has...
This tiny interaction between Thorkester and Fargrimr shows just how different the two men are. They both use different beliefs and a different moral code to keep their people safe from the giants. Thorkester, of course, with the Northmen. The Northmen protect their people and anyone who joins them from the giants by offering slaves to them to leave them alone. However, if you're someone like Fargrimr who thinks enslaving people is kinda wrong and kinda cringe, man, then you're on the direct line of fire for it yourself. Fargrimr, of course, is one of those people, along with his settlement, who refuse to join the slavers, so they get the really bad end of the stick, not only being trapped by giants, but also having to worry about the Northmen and the Draga coming after them. However, the plus side is they can sleep well knowing they're doing the morally right thing. These two men are complete opposites, with one man using violence to keep his people safe and the other man choosing to use peace. Both work in their own flawed ways, and you can't really blame either men. They are truly doing what they both feel is right to protect their people, and say what you want about the enslaver's path, but from the way Thorkester has spoken, his path is a lot more safer than the moral one. Moving forward, the three of you begin to feel the ground shake and move, and you all deep down know what it is that is under you. Eltoga, the giant, you can hear her distant screams growing nearer and nearer. The earth begins to violently shake, and it becomes very apparent that you need to run now. You begin to run and a new type of gameplay is introduced. The gameplay is on the rails run gameplay, where you are getting chased by a giant and you will have to run as quickly as you can to get away from it. Now, like I said, this is linear, however, it doesn't stop it being fun, as you will have to really think where you're going as paths change with the destruction that's happening around you. I really like these sections. They're very over the top and linear like I say, but they're fast-paced gameplay, which is what this slower paced game needs to break in the action more. It's fun, it's completely inoffensive, and overall it makes the game that little bit better. I mean, not only does the destruction and the running sections overall look incredible, but I also love that Senua's fears are just absolutely freaking out through the whole thing. Senua stops dead in her tracks. Looking above her, she can see Eltoga floating above her. Eltoga is horrifically discontorted and almost looks burned. Eltoga reaches out to take Fargrimr, but Senua, being brave, stops her. However, of course, Eltoga now looks at Senua to take. The fears in Senua's head say that Eltoga can see straight through her, and maybe she can, as she calls Senua a monster just like her. She also says to Senua that she understands. Maybe she can see into Senua's fears, or some sort of power that Senua has. Maybe she can tell.
She is suffering like you. We can see her. She knows you.
But before she can get nearer and creep closer to Senua, a spear is thrown at her. And standing next to Senua is Thorkester. He helps Senua up and stands in front of the two of them, telling them to go while he tries to protect them. Now, why is he doing this, considering not even 5 minutes ago he said he doesn't change his thoughts on either of them, and not even 2 minutes ago he threatened to gut Fargrimr like a fish? Now, I think it's simple. Don't get it twisted. Thorkester still wants to hate both of you. He still wants to believe that he can take you as a slave to his father. But there's a problem. Senua has shown him humanity, shown him kindness. She let him live, gave him mercy, and has been trying to help him. So he probably feels in debt to Senua. Also, his views do seem to slowly be changing with every word that Fargrimr says to him and every bit of kindness you show him. Every second that Fargrimr offers him hospitality is another second he can struggle to hate Fargrimr. And of course, the longer he spends with Senua, the harder he finds it to see her as a slave and not a real person. You enter a small cave that Eltoga cannot fit in, and then you make your way up Fargrimr's well into his settlement. You see both Senua and Thorkester at the top of the well, completely exhausted after their long day. Remember, this has all happened in a day. Fargrimr tells Senua that when the volcano erupted, the normal, Midheim, and, well, every other realm mixed together. Meaning that the giants came over and literally just killed and ate everyone in their way.
Explain.
What is happening?
Eltoga.
Who is she?
So when the volcano erupted, it tore open the wall between this world and
Now this world
Jotunheim.
suffers too.
The giants came flooding from the east, killing and eating
More
whomever
of
they
them,
could lay their
terrifying
hands on.
giants.
Now some of us, we hide.
You have to fight, not hide.
Make defenses, struggle on.
And if you're wondering what Jotunheim is, it's the land of the giants in Norse mythology. Once again, I'm so sorry I've spoiled something early, but once again, it helps me write the script. It's at this moment in the game where Fargrimr reveals to you, or rather makes Thorkester reveal to you, that his father has been taking slaves as sacrifices for the giants to keep their people safe. Senua, finding this out for the first time, walks up to Thorkester, telling him that this will stop now.
And some of us use others to stem the tides.
Others? What do you mean?
Shall I tell her, Thorkester?
Tell me.
Shall I tell her what your father's been doing?
What else is there to do, Fargrimr? We found a way to keep our people
He
safe.
is part of it too. He believes.
Your people are dying.
There is no other way.
Tell us.
What are they doing?
The Gode of Borgarvirki is using slaves. Slaves from your lands. Sacrifices.
Sacrifice.
He's offering them to the giants so that his people will be left.
He takes innocent people.
evil. This stops now.
Is a monster.
Thorkester tells Senua that she can't stand against all of the Northmen.
You can't stand alone against us.
It's here where the fears inside Senua's head argue whether Thorkester can be saved, whether his views can be changed and his thoughts be changed on his people's ways of using slaves. Fucking hell, it felt like I was about to write a rap then, what?
Fortnite balls, I'm gay, I like boys, I kidnap autistic kids, little Mosey is watching.
Fargrimr tells Senua that she can't leave the hills, as Eltoga now has her marked and will hunt her down if she tries to which Senua just replies with, she will have to kill her. Fargrimr tells Senua that it's impossible to kill Eltoga, but then Senua responds with the most based line ever.
Eltoga has you marked now. If you try to leave the Red Hills, he will hunt and kill you.
No, then I will kill her first.
She can't be killed. It's impossible.
I have killed a god, Fargrimr.
I just love how confident and badass Senua is in this game. As in Hellblade 1, she's very scared all the time, but in Hellblade 2, she's some cool, badass woman who's still sometimes pretty scared. But just as Senua is starting to believe in herself again, of course, Zingbel, her father, can be heard telling her there is no way. We were transported into Senua's nightmare. All you can hear is Zingbel telling Senua that she can't stop the giants, she can't kill them.
Stay. You can't stop them. You can't kill the giant.
And looking around, you can see that you're in a forest. The game's audio goes dead silent. Walking through the forest, all you can hear is Zingbel. At the end of an opening, you can see him surrounded and being consumed by a red mist in the background behind him. Venturing closer to him, he disappears and you must continue onwards. You can constantly hear his voice trying to pull Senua down and make her believe she can't defeat the giants.
There is no way. I will always be here to remind you to know your place. To stop you getting ideas into your head.
You find a torch, taking it with you through the darkness, revealing your light. You now have to break through glass to find your way out of the forest. If you take the wrong path, I can only assume you are led to Zingbel, which of course will result in a game over. I have to say, deaths here can feel a little cheap as you're not given much time to see the red light before it kills you, but that being said, you respawn in about a second, so there's nothing really to complain about here, just wish you had more time to see your mistake and try and correct it. Senua has to beat Zingbel here. It's clear that if she doesn't, he will break her spirit. You enter a large open section and you have to fight glass soldiers like you did in the last Nightmare section of the game. There's nothing new to add here, fighting them feels fun, but they are the same enemies from the last Nightmare section. Senua continues forward, telling Zingbel that he can't stop her as she has the light. So then Zingbel kind of fucking owns her by putting out her torch.
Unless you heed my words.
You can't hurt me. I carry the light.
Light fades, Senua. Light can be killed.
Oh no!
But it's okay because she finds another one and then fights another group of large enemies. And as we get deeper and deeper into the Nightmare section, we can see that Zingbel really is trying to turn Senua evil like he is.
It's time to give up, child. Leave this land.
No. What you did to me, I see it here. They are cowed like I was. Lost like I was. Believing what they're told. Sacrifices. Spilling blood for a lie.
I speak the truth.
One interesting thing to point out as well is that this section is very personal. It's between Senua and Zingbel, and what I mean by this is there's no fears. It's literally just Senua and her father, and that is kind of cool to me. It's like he takes up so much of her head and is so evil and powerful that he can completely block out the fears just like that. Senua is shown her mother dying, being burnt as a sacrifice by Zingbel because he believed she was cursed as she shared the same mental condition Senua has. Zingbel reminds her of this to get her to turn. This is his final big attempt to change Senua into becoming evil. But this only pisses Senua off, telling Zingbel that she will never become like him and she will do everything in her power to take down his gods.
The gods cannot be killed. All we can do is placate them. slake their thirst with blood and fire.
I see through your darkness now. I see through your lies. And I will show them how to see as I do. I will not appease your gods. I will destroy them.
Senua the next day turns back to Fargrimr, telling him that the giants can be killed. Fargrimr agrees that if anyone can kill the giants, it's Senua. Fargrimr tells Senua that she is special, and he confirms that he knows that she has voices in her head.
She is special. Listening to the voices that we cannot hear, to the Verdir and Gandir.
Voices? How does he know about us?
You have the ability to see behind the veil. You are a Seðkona. A seer.
Fargrimr tells Senua that Eltoga hides during the day. Fargrimr tells Senua that there is a group that even the giants fear, called the Hidden Folk. Fargrimr tells Senua that they will test her, but if she passes their tests, they may give her the key to killing the giants. Fargrimr having pointed you in the direction of the Hidden Folk, you can now set off once more. Before you head off, you can look around Fargrimr's settlement, and there's not much to see here other than a few collectibles, and you can find two settlers arguing anxiously over why you and Thorkester are here. By the way, anytime I refer to the Furies as fears, that's my bad. I accidentally called them fears for some reason for the next part of the segment of the video, so sorry about that, guys. Anytime I say fears, I mean Furies. Heading outside, you come upon an opening in the rocks. Some sort of pod can be seen in the central circle of this area, and your way is blocked. You can find a stone around the corner which splits the world in two when you interact with it. Senua is transported into a cave. You move back towards the strange icon in the middle of the room. You place the rock you found in the middle of this strange podium, and your fears describe your rock as an offering to the podium.
Find the other offering. They can hear us. We cannot hear them yet.
This then gives you the ability to look at floating bubbles in the air. Popping them, landscape will change and you will be able to move forward. So basically, find big rock, place it in thing, thing makes bubbles appear in the air which you can pop, thing then disappears, and then repeat this, bing bang bosh, you have yourself a puzzle for this chapter. This puzzle is quite fun. It feels like the bridge puzzles from Hellblade 1, just fun. Once you have completed this first puzzle / test, you can continue to the next one, which gets harder and harder. The next puzzle is very similar, except a bit more challenging. This time you'll have to think about which bubble / orb to focus on, so you can pop it at the right time to move forward. Once more, the final puzzle is much like the other two, just this time you'll have to find more rocks and of course think harder about how you're going to create your path to move forward. This time, however, you can hear the Hidden Folk very prevalently telling you that they don't want you to pass this test. In this section you find Draga, which you have to fight as they seem to come back to life just to attack you. Once you complete this puzzle, the beautiful lake you were standing at gets drained, and you can enter the Hidden Folk's main trials. I have to say, these 3 starting puzzles are done really well. They progress really nicely in difficulty and overall give the Hidden Folk this really cool and extremely mysterious vibe. The first puzzle starts off very easy, but by the time you get to the last one, you have to think quite hard how to solve it. They're also quite a nice change from the vanilla puzzles that you've been doing all throughout the game of just finding the symbols. Overall, some great puzzles. Venturing deeper into the earth, Senua's Furies talk about, well, Senua's fear of the dark and how she will be okay because she has people counting on her, so nothing will stand in her way. Going further into the cave, you are presented with what looks like a maze of different tunnels and passages. Making your way through this maze, eventually you find an opening that looks like almost magical light. You find a chalice. Lighting it, the blue mystical looking area gets turned into a rock. But this does reveal a path upwards and onwards. When you find a chalice and you have a torch, you will be able to light it or put it out. This will make a path appear or disappear in front of you. You enter another small but somewhat large room. Finding light in a chalice, putting it out, your path forward is revealed. Going through the strange door, you go deeper and deeper into the earth, where the Furies start to slowly become more and more freaked out.
No, Senua, no. Senua, turn around. Wait, listen. What was that?
Is it them? Are they telling us? What are they telling us to do? There's only one way to find out. Water everywhere. This must be a special place.
You find water, and your only way to continue is to go through it. Entering the freezing cold water, however, sometimes you will have to go through water pockets that block your way to continue forward.
Put the torch down. What was it? Did you feel it? It felt like something dark.
Heading through the water, you can see Senua react to something behind her, almost like someone is reaching out for you.
Did you feel that? Something dark. Something moving or not moving. I don't know. Something is here, something is not.
The Furies think this too. They say that someone is near you when you go through the water. And all of a sudden, Hellblade 2 really feels like a horror game.
Jävlar! Fitta! Det var då fan! Jag ska ju fan då bara ta den. Fly! Ja!
You find another opening where the only way forward is to go through a waterfall. This will of course extinguish your torch. Going through, you can see a figure in blue running forward with a torch. You can't get to him, but you can see him. He quickly runs out of sight and then disappears. Who is he? What is he? We don't know, but could he be a member of the hidden folk?
Someone walking. You are not alone, Senua. Should you follow them? They could be dangerous. She knows what she has to do.
During a puzzle, the Furies talk about how Senua sometimes needs the light, but she also sometimes needs the darkness. To me, this simply means sometimes she needs good around her, but also sometimes she needs to be pushed to face the bad things in her life and her biggest fears. Going forward again, you can see the shadow leading you deeper and deeper through the cave. Furies continue to panic Senua, telling her that the darkness can hear her. At this point, they are clearly getting to her, to the point where she even tells them to be quiet.
Scared. They can hear us. They can hear you thinking. They can hear what we fear. Quiet now.
The Furies continue and continue to panic Senua, but as they do, they are suddenly interrupted by some sort of strange howling noise or screech noise that can be heard in the distance.
Malicious. What's that noise? Something growing, something coming. I can feel it.
You can hear a voice talking to you. Is it the hidden folk? Is it the very darkness itself? It's unclear, but it's certain that something is saying something to you.
There is darkness in there. Your fear is in that water. She has to get in.
Entering the deep black water once more, you can see dark, gloomy figures almost leaping and grabbing and grasping for help. These things, these creatures, are drowned. The people Senua could not save. They are one of her greatest fears. The light from Senua's torch is the only thing keeping them at bay, and it's at this point where the Furies are completely freaking out and terrified. Entering another room, you can see what I believe is the hidden folk floating above you. They ask what you're looking for. But then they proceed to say that Senua is not worthy of their help.
I tell you what though, folks, that's bloody nice.
It's clear that the hidden folk are trying to get you to leave. Entering another flooded cave, you have to dart from cover to light so that the darkness does not consume you. The shadows in the water talk to Senua, resenting her for not saving them. You make your way through the deep black water, being surrounded by drowned, trying to grasp and clamber onto Senua. You find that the only way forward is to go through a waterfall that will of course extinguish Senua's torch.
You have to. No, this can't be right. It's the only way. She has to go through.
Going through it, waiting for you on the other side, is drowned, and a lot of them. You make a mad dash through the waterfall. All you can hear is the Furies screaming at you to move as quickly as you can. Drowned, constantly trying to pull and tug at Senua to pull her under the water. You have to sprint in this section. If you don't, you'll be pulled under and die immediately. Overall, it's a really great build up to a new gameplay experience. You first start off hearing the screeches and scratches and the sounds of the drowned's pains. You then actually enter the water with them and learn you have to have a torch to get past them.
They want to drag you down.
Climax to this being your torch is taken away from you and you have to sprint directly through them. Not only does this add this desperate sense of horror to Hellblade, but it also adds so much more to Senua's character and the story as a whole, as we truly get to see how much Senua has developed from the first game and how she can now cope with her deepest fears being exploited. Overall, a great section to this chapter. You walk for a while and then find another torch, and once more you are outside. While the outdoors section is extremely beautiful, it is also clearly a large puzzle.
Begging for attention. You're gonna die. Oh, no, 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 no! Nobody! No!
You have to find your way through this maze by completing puzzles with your torch. Find chalices and have to make a path forward for yourself by either lighting them or putting them out. At some point, Senua will even have to trust that strange blue figure she saw earlier and give her torch to him.
It's all she has. She can't give it to them. You'll be trapped here forever. You won't be able to see. Now she's trapped. Stupid. Stupid. You need a torch. You can't do anything without your torch. Trapped here now forever. Think. There must be a way through. That figure. Oh, yes, there. A path.
But luckily, he does help you make it through the puzzle. Making it to the end of the puzzle, you head back into the deep, dark cave of the earth to do more trials for the hidden folk. This is kind of the direct middle point for chapter 4, and it's an excellent way of sort of ending this first section of the chapter. At this point, Senua's heart has been completely tested, using her biggest and deepest fear against her. And this end puzzle, which isn't too complicated, very peaceful, and just overall fun, allows the player to sit back and really reflect on everything that both you and Senua has been through. It's also just a very fun puzzle, and it gets you ready for the tone switch of the second half of the chapter that is to come. Entering back into the darkness once more, you can hear the hidden folk repeating what Fargrimr had already said to Senua and asking that she let herself be guided by the hidden folk.
With eyes to see what might be, you have made your way. Let yourself be guided by us.
The light that you've been using to solve puzzles is now showing your path forward and guiding you in the right direction. Turning a corner, Senua is attacked by some sort of monster. It has no weapon but is still furious, as they try to scratch and claw at you with their disgusting hands. To beat them, you will have to stay sharp. Like I said, they don't actually have any weapons, but they are relentless in speed, so you will have to move quick and stay on top of them at all times. Continuing forward, you are attacked multiple times by these creatures and have to fight them off again and again. I really love this, as it really starts to test Senua's combat abilities. Some of the creatures even throw dirt at you to try and make Senua feel delirious. Every fight with them is seriously intense.
Gaming is intense, but talkies are seriously intense.
And it often feels like Senua will be overwhelmed by them. They're a great new enemy type and a fantastic addition to the game, and they also add to chapter 4's growing horror element. You find another opening in the cave wall, the same kind of one you've been getting and giving your torch to throughout this chapter, except this time something is off. It's not a friendly blue that greets you, but this time an ominous red. Approaching it, you can hear the cries of someone desperately asking for help.
Who's there?
What are they saying? Don't get too close.
The muffled voice of the stranger asks for your sword.
No.
But surely you know you can't. Without that sword, the creatures, the things all around you, you'll stand no chance, and the Furies know that too.
No. You can't. Those creatures are down here with you. They need help.
The this be some sort of test by the hidden folk to see if Senua has true humanity, or does someone truly need your help? It's unclear. Senua pleads with them, but trial or not, deep down she knows the right thing to do. She slowly and reluctantly gives the sword to the portal hole, leaving her completely defenseless.
They need help. This is all I have.
Senua, you can't. You can't do it. Listen to us. Senua, no. We know what to do. We are protecting you. What are you going to do now?
I really like this. Her mind has been tested throughout the trials, you know, to make sure she's not brainless. But her heart has been tested too. Her deepest fear of the dark and people she could not save has been tested. Her trust has been tested, and now the thing that makes her a warrior has been tested and taken away from her. Trials not only are really fun from a gameplay point of view, also from a lore point of view, because we truly get to see how much Senua's state of mind has improved since the last game, and we see how much she can take on now. Giving her sword away might have been the hardest thing she's had to do all game. At this point, Senua has given literally everything to the hidden folk, and it is only up to her now to desperately survive. The game now becomes literally like a horror game, as you see the red outlines of monstrous creatures in front of you and hear them screeching and crawling behind you, with the only thing keeping them at bay being the magical light, which you will now have to run after as it leaps and bounds ahead of you. This section is so intense, and it's actually kind of scary. A game over in this section of the game will show a jump scare of Senua being murdered by one of the monsters. Some of these deaths, granted, can feel a little bit unfair, as it felt like I was in the light when the monsters got me, but for the most part this section is great. It keeps you on your toes at all times and adds a fantastic element of horror to Hellblade 2. You are led into a large mystical room. The blue light is everywhere. This is the final test, the final trial. It's basically just a really large puzzle with the bubbles that you've been looking at to make things disappear and reappear to make a path forward that you've been doing throughout the whole chapter. But nonetheless, it's fun and brings a satisfying end to the trial. Once you complete the puzzle, Senua can go through a crawl space. In a moment of what feels like complete peace and accomplishment, the Furies praise Senua, and you really get a chance to think of everything you, the player, has gone through and everything you, the player, has accomplished. But while you, the player, get to think about your personal accomplishments, Senua gets to think about hers, but not just throughout these chapters, throughout the whole game and the last one. The Furies even talk about changing Thorkester's ways and helping him stop believe in his father's views. Making it through the tunnel, of course, you're presented with another fucking cave.
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
But this time it's different. The hidden folk are here, and you know it. The hidden folk speak to Senua, and Senua asks them what they want her to do. She sees below her a body of water, and she knows she needs to enter it.
And it's time to find out. How can we make it happen?
It's time to find out. Why are they watching?
It's time to find out.
Looking into the water, she sees herself, and more importantly, she sees everything she has ever done, and realizes she is now, in this moment, truly ready to meet the hidden folk.
Everything I've seen, everything I've done, has led me to this place.
We've come so far.
Not far enough. Say it.
You are ready.
Tell them.
I am here. Now.
What if we get lost forever?
What will happen to them?
What will happen to you?
I will not let them down.
She is ready. They know.
Go.
Entering the water, the hidden folk reveal to you Eltoga's true story. During this story, we learn all of Eltoga's pains, and we learn her true story of how she came to be a giant. A desperate mother trying to do what she thought she could for her child, which in the end ultimately made her turned into a giant. You are released from your vision, and Senua realizes that those creatures from before are after her. She runs to the nearest circle portal.
Help me! All around, everywhere.
She asks for her sword, and it's at this point you probably realize that the person you were talking to earlier who was asking for a sword was actually the future version of you. Which to me is such a cool detail. I just love stuff like that in games. It's just cool. Anyway, you get the sword and now must fight once more.
I found her sword, and now she has it back. invested with her sacrifice. All her blood that might have spilled, all the death she might have died. A new soul, a new self, a new Senua who can see the giant's truth.
This fight is extremely intense. You are surrounded and the creatures are waiting, each one of them, for their turn at you. There is literally nothing you can do but fight. Eventually the creatures become too much and overrun Senua.
Do you see how small you are? Do you see how the pitiless world stamps you down?
But I can only assume the hidden folk save her.
Do you hate?
Senua now demands help from the hidden folk.
Where are you? Help me!
She's tired of performing their trials, which nearly kill her every single time. But then, just as it seems like they're not going to help her, in front of her is Eltoga's child. The name of Eltoga is revealed to her. It's Ingram. And with Eltoga's real name and her backstory, Senua will now be able to slay her and take her on in battle. The main thing here is that Senua knows Eltoga's name. This will be very important later on, but you can't kill a giant without their real name. The rubble and rocks is removed from you, and you can see Fargrimr. Senua instantly tells him that she knows how to defeat Eltoga. Fargrimr says he will set up a ritual to cool Eltoga, so Senua will be able to enter her head and see the world through her eyes. The ritual is set out, and it begins to be performed. Senua enters a different world. A world of fear, fire, flames, and pain. A world which Eltoga, which Ingram, lives in constantly. This boss fight is the second one in the game, and it's nothing like the first one you have with Thorkester. There's no sword fight here. Instead, you will have to run from cover to cover, evading deadly fire, which will kill you in a second. The fight has 4 phases, as you will have to break 4 chains to free Ingram. The first 2 chains are quite simple, and the first 2 phases are quite simple. You simply have to go from cover to cover, making sure your timing is right. You can hear Ingram / Eltoga in the background calling you a monster and screaming out in pain. As the fight goes on, your window to move gets smaller and smaller, so you will have to move quicker and make sure your timing is perfect. Eventually, the blasts of hot fire become extremely powerful, so powerful that they break the cover you hide behind, so you will have to be ready to move and move quick. In fact, in the last section, the molten lava shockwaves become so powerful that you just have to run and hope for the best. This boss fight is done so well. It looks breathtaking and the music is perfect. The boss fight itself is different and fun. Each phase of the fight feels uniquely different and feels uniquely more intense than the last, and you will have to stay on your toes at all times. It's a fun boss fight. Overall, a different but great and welcome addition to the game. Breaking the last chain, you are transported back to reality, where you can see Ingram slowly dying in front of you. Senua reunites Ingram with her deceased child, and we slowly watch Ingram shrink and die before us. In quite a moving scene, we see Ingram die.
What happens when you fail? You break. You become monstrous.
Consumed by rage.
Grief.
No more.
Let them rest together.
Together.
Together now.
Let her rest.
But of course, you hear the voice of Zinbel trying to discredit your work for killing a giant.
Triumph. But this means nothing. This woman was no god. She was weak, like you. This changes nothing. I need to go.
However, it's little too late, as Senua now knows what she can do. She can defeat the giants now, and nothing will stand in her way. Thorkester demands they get back to his father so that he can tell them that the giants can be killed, and Senua once again insists on there being no more slaves.
There's more than the sword here.
More than he can understand.
No more slaves. And no more sacrifices.
He is trying to understand. Is he?
Sacrifices. No more cowering in our fortress. We could fight.
We have, but not in the way he thinks.
No more sacrifices, swear.
I never wanted any of that. I just did not believe it was possible to defeat them. And now I see.
A ray of hope.
If this is real, no more sacrifices. You have my word.
Thorkester swears that there will be no more sacrifices, and then the three of you, including Fargrimr, head off into the sunset. The end monologue explains how Senua will not have to fight the Northmen, but rather will be able to show them that the giants can be killed. She now has the key to kill the giants, and she will achieve it, no matter what. Chapter 5 starts with a shot of our three main characters all walking together, and of course it takes about 5 milliseconds before they all start arguing with each other. Simply disagrees with the way and the route that Fargrimr is taking them to the Northmen's base.
I told you we need to head further inland.
But Fargrimr's argument is that they will need to stop as it's getting dark. They will need food and water and a place to stay for the night, so he's taking them through a settlement. Thorkester of course doesn't want this because every settlement in the region hates the Bordavik and hates the Northmen. The Bordavik is another word for the Northmen, by the way.
We need food and shelter. And there is a settlement nearby.
Bordavik?
Yes.
Are you mad? They will kill me on sight. They hate the Björk. They've been pains in our asses since long before the fall.
And do you think you might have given them a cause to hate you?
But of course, Thorkester's opinion is quickly discharged.
Don't worry, lad. I'll protect you.
I am very uncomfortable with the energy that we've created in the studio today.
Going forward, you can hear a familiar voice, that voice being the voice of the Hidden Folk, staying with you clearly even after you've completed their trials and got what you wanted.
Can you see?
We give you this moment as reward.
To me, this confirms that Senua was clearly chosen to defeat the giants, or at least that first one. Fargrimr and Thorkester are removed from her sight, and the gloomy, dark, rainy sky is replaced with a beautiful, bright sky full of life. AKA they slap a Breaking Bad Mexican filter over the game.
Look at me, Hector.
The Hidden Folk lead you to a beautiful waterfall, and for a moment, just a moment, you can experience true peace with Senua. Fargrimr joins you, and for once, Senua can enjoy herself, surrounded by beautiful landscape and scenery, and literally one with peace. To me, I think this is the Hidden Folk gifting Senua a moment of clarity and peace for her hard work. But sadly, it doesn't last long. Suddenly and quickly, the sky darkens once more, and turning around, you are surrounded by men with spears, a woman holding Thorkester hostage. The woman thinks because of Thorkester's presence we are working with the Björk, but that's not true, but it is to her, obviously.
Guiding the Björk to our door, but
She knows them.
is this what you've been reduced to?
How does she know them?
Why does she hate them?
Let him go!
No.
No. No, I don't think I will.
Fargrimr tries to explain that Senua can kill a giant and that Thorkester is not a threat.
Who is this woman?
Ostriur,
A warrior.
this is not what you think.
She will kill him. She will slit his throat.
What is it?
I know this is going to be hard to believe, but you have to listen. This woman here, Senua, she knows how to defeat the giants. All of us, we've seen it.
Fargrimr calls the woman by her name, Astriud, which just proves even more how much of a history Fargrimr has with literally everyone. That man must get around. At first, Astriud doesn't believe him whatsoever, but soon she warms to the idea.
Way to Borgarvirki now to tell the Gode, to make him understand that we can fight back.
He's telling the truth.
I did not ask you, rat. Shut your mouth, or I will slit your throat.
She lets Thorkester go and then walks over to Senua, asking that she tell her the truth. Senua says that it is true that she can kill giants, so Astrid asks for her help.
Tell her the truth.
It is true.
She will believe us. She knows. She can see that we bring hope. We do.
Okay. Prove it then. There's a giant here.
Another giant. Another giant.
He roams the beaches and sinks our boats, cutting us off from the sea.
More death.
And we're close to running out of food.
She asks Senua if she will kill a giant. You may be wondering why she's so trusting in Senua so quickly, but I assume her and Fargrimr are on the same side here and trust each other, or at least know each other quite a bit. And I think she knows, of all people, Fargrimr would be the least likely to join arms with the Björk. Senua at first really insists that she needs to get to Bordavik to stop the slaves, but it's clear that Astrid really needs her help.
We need to get to Bordavik.
Please.
Remember, there are other people you must save.
I cannot let more of my people die.
Now, for about the 11th time now, I really thought the game was going to give you a choice here. I thought it would be, you know, help her or not, you know, and there'd be some sort of overarching consequence to this, but of course, it doesn't, and Senua chooses to help her as she thinks it's the right thing to do.
We've taken down one, but there is a whole land of them. We need the practice.
People will die if you help her.
And
People
I
will die if you don't. There's no way you can win.
Please. Senua.
People will die if you stay here.
We are dying.
People will die if you don't. You have to help her. Now it is time to lead, Senua. Now you have to choose. You can feel it.
All right.
Hold on to her.
We will help.
But it still seems kind of strange to me. I mean, the game even says...
Now you have to choose.
Which really made me think there would be a choice here, but oh well, I guess. It's just strange that we keep getting these scenarios that are even presented like there's going to be a choice made, but then there isn't. Cute little transition happens where there's a bit of narration, and it basically just says that Senua has truly made good friends. It's a small narration, but it's comforting knowing that Senua now has true friends. Senua goes with Astrid to find the giant that she has been asked to kill. During this walk, Senua and Astrid have quite an in-depth talk. Senua tells Astrid why she's here, what her goals are, and how she got here, and also just a little bit about her past.
Can you trust
Taken by the Björk?
Yes.
You were taken by the Björk, and yet you come here with Thorkester.
He wants to stop the giants too.
We want the same thing now. To stop the giants.
She doesn't trust him.
Be careful, Senua. The Björk can't be trusted. They demand food from us, and if we don't give it, they take us as sacrifice.
Listen.
You hear that? That's him.
That's him.
Can you hear him?
You can.
Sjávarisi, the sea giant.
Do you see him? Where is he?
He brings the storms with him.
Cries born in the storm.
Where is he?
We haven't seen the sun in weeks.
Astrid talks a lot about her past as well, talking about her father mainly, a man she really looks up to and who she wants to be like, but unfortunately he died as someone betrayed him who was close to them all.
My brothers used to come here to practice fighting. Sneak out. Follow them.
She's a fighter like you. Learning by watching.
Like you. They're dead now. I'm all that's left. My father. My father tried to protect her, but she refused to leave his side. I miss her. I miss all of them.
She loved her.
She's like you. It's not a choice.
Your father. Was he the leader here?
Yes. He was the best of men.
A leader like your father.
No, a leader like you.
Not like your father.
He was just, generous and kind. Too kind.
Too kind? What does she mean?
He trusted the wrong person. And he was betrayed.
A traitor?
Who?
I tried to follow in his footsteps.
She wants to keep her people safe.
She has to. But it's hard.
She has to carry on for her father. What about you, Senua?
Astrid, of course, asked Senua about her family and her father, but it seemed to put Senua off quite a bit, as Senua does not want to be like her father. She can't stand her father. Instead, she wants to be better than him.
Sometimes it's best not to follow too closely.
But tell her you can trust her.
My father was a leader too, but not like yours.
Not like yours, a monster.
You can lift your burden if you tell her.
It's clear that both of you have been through a lot, and you're both two very different people, but if one thing is clear that you have in common, it's that you're both doing what you think is right. And you're both badass warriors. But yet something seems off. Astrid has opened up to you so quickly, and even the Furies debate whether you can trust her or not. But then in a moment's notice, a fight breaks out. In a moment's notice, you are attacked, and Astrid runs off.
It's time for bottling!
She says something to you before you go, but you can't really notice it in the heat of the moment. Now this fight is hard. One thing that's important to note is I came across a new gameplay element from the fire enemy of the Draga, where they will throw a Molotov onto the floor, and if you don't move out of the way instantly, it will kill you. Or if you're a pussy playing on easy mode, it might damage you a bit. Once the battle is over, the Furies clock in again, straight away asking whether you can truly trust Astrid, considering she ran away during that fight.
You cannot trust her.
Did she have to go save someone, sort something out? She said she did, but was she really testing if you were a strong warrior, or was she really just scared? A new puzzle appears, and it's clear that the hidden folk want you to find something out this time for yourself.
She wants
It's them. Something to find.
The hidden folk.
What is it?
Once again, those floating orbs/bubbles return for the puzzle, and this time you are able to switch worlds into some sort of mirror dimension where you can change the land within the world. This is mixed together with the finding the symbols, the vanilla puzzles of the Hellblade games. It's like taking the vanilla original puzzle from Hellblade 1, making it better in Hellblade 2, and then combining it with the new puzzle in Hellblade 2. And I really like this. It puts a twist on the normal base puzzle, and it makes the game a lot better, I think. Heading back out once more, once you've completed the puzzle, you meet back up with Astrid, but Senua knows she can't defeat the giants without knowing their true name, and something is drawing her to the beach. She thinks that something is the hidden folk. You must divert your course to find the name of the giant. Senua agrees to meet back up with Astrid at the main settlement once she has found the name of the giant, but she doesn't tell her she's going to find the name of the giant.
You're not coming?
There's something I need to find.
Bardavik is just along the shore. I would say be careful of Draga,
She needs
but
to understand.
I see you can handle
Find a way.
yourself.
She can't handle herself.
You are a warrior, Senua.
She left as soon as it was hard.
Why did the Draga come here?
What were they looking for?
Are they following us?
Yes, they must be following us, following you.
What if she brought them here?
You head down to the beach front where the hidden folk have led you.
What are you waiting for, Senua? Focus in.
We are the only ones that know the truth. Burn our favor again.
You find 3 symbols blocking your way, and it's here where we have our final puzzle in the game. This puzzle takes everything about the normal standard symbol puzzles in the game and takes the hidden folks orb/bubble puzzles and combines them together, just like the last puzzle but on a much larger scale this time. For this puzzle you have to find 3 symbols whilst using the bubbles to traverse your way around this large area. I have to say, this is a really good send-off to the puzzles in the game, and it's my favourite personal puzzle of the game. The puzzles in Hellblade 2 progress really nicely, and I find them all challenging enough to keep my attention. At no point do you really have to use 100% of your brain power to solve a puzzle, but like I said before, the game's progression within the puzzles are really well done, with the puzzle's progression being really well thought out, with the puzzles being more simple and easier, and then by the end they're more intricate and harder. Overall, the puzzles in Hellblade 2 are great, and this particular puzzle is a great send-off for them. Completing the puzzle, the hidden folk let you in. Entering a pool of water at the bottom of a large cave, the hidden folk begin to reveal to you the backstory of the giants. The story that is shown tells a tale about a settlement that would not be left alone by the Björk. The giant, well, the man before he was a giant, made a deal with the Björk. Though he loved his friends and the people in the settlement, he gave up their leader to save his own life. It's probably at this moment where this story sounds quite familiar to you, and that's because this leader who was betrayed by someone, this leader who was turned over to the Björk, was Astrid's father.
He trusted the wrong person. And he was betrayed.
A traitor?
Who? He tried to follow in his footsteps.
Once the people of the settlement found this out, they cast him out. He then went on to wander the cliffs until one day he was claimed by the sea and made into a giant, haunted by the people he once loved and forced to terrorize them. But there's still one problem. Senua doesn't know the giant's name. The hidden folk left out that detail, but Senua does know someone who will know the giant's name. Astrid, the daughter of the leader who was betrayed. Walk through the settlement, conveniently finding Astrid in a little house at the end of it. Senua knows that this conversation is not going to be one that's easy to talk about for Astrid, so she treads carefully.
The truth. You need to find out, Paul.
Senua.
Ask her. Steady. Take your time. Tell her.
Your father.
There. That's it.
You told me that someone betrayed him. Who?
Senua slowly and gently asks Astrid who betrayed her father. It's clear that this question deeply hurts her, but she tries to open up to Senua.
What does it matter?
The truth. It is how we will save her people.
I need to understand him.
Astrid informs Senua that this settlement was first made as some kind of safe haven for people needing help from the giants or the Björk.
We cannot kill the giant if we do not know. She's going to tell us. She trusts us. Look. No, she doesn't. She's ready. There. The question hurts her. But she will do it.
When it all went to hell, people started coming to us for help. We were just barely scraping by, but
she doesn't like to remember.
We opened our doors to them.
She said that they let a man in, however he betrayed her father, so she had to cast him out. She tells Senua, eventually, that his name was Saga.
You had a home once.
And then a man came. We took him in. We made him one of us.
That man.
We trusted him.
What was his name?
And he betrayed me. He betrayed my father.
It's him. There is more to this than she is saying.
So I cast him out. I haven't seen him since. His name was Saga.
The truth. There it is. Now we know the truth. Now you know.
Senua says to Astrid she's sorry for what happened, but tells her that Saga is her giant.
Tell her.
I'm sorry. Saigir. He is your giant.
Truth. What will she do? Will she believe us?
I saw it.
She has to.
How? You have to trust me. It was the same with Inga.
I gotta say, I absolutely love this scene. I think it shows just how far Senua has come as a human. As an individual, she is just able now to speak to people with such kindness. It's truly a beautiful scene to watch when you truly think about it. It also adds some great character to Astrid. But suddenly, just in that moment, you can hear shouting in the distance and the sound of an alarm.
Heard her name.
Something's coming.
They've never attacked the settlement because of you.
I'm with you.
You brought them here.
The settlement is under attack. Going outside, you can see the Draga are everywhere, and you must help defend the settlement. The Furies shout in Senua's ear that this is her fault that the Draga are here, that she led them here.
Fight! Take them on. You cannot do this alone. Yes. You have to help them, Senua. This isn't a choice. The Draga are here. Stop.
Running down to the main part of the battle, you can see Thorkester kicking some serious ass and the whole eruption of battle in front of you. The people are clearly fighting back, but it's unclear who's winning as the settlement is burning. Senua is thrown onto her back by a new enemy type, a Draga with a shield, and it's here where you're thrown into the action and the combat. This battle is my favourite in the entire game, and to be honest, this is the reason I made this video. I remember playing this game, looking around the battlefield, fighting a new terrifying but fun enemy and seeing my allies fight alongside me, and it's then when I thought to myself, this game right here has been made with love. Hellblade 2 has some issues, but it's this scene, this battle, this piece of gameplay here which made me truly realise that this game was made with true love. Even if you disagree with some of the creative choices the devs made with Hellblade 2, it's clear that the devs loved the first game and they truly wanted to make something just as good, if not better, for the second game. And it's this scene, this set piece, this battle scene that truly made me think that. Because everything about this battle is on point, from the gameplay to the music to the setting to your allies, your companions, everything. From the story aspect, it all adds up so well and is created with so much love, and you can just see that from playing it. Anyway, this battle has every single Draga enemy type you have fought before and some new ones thrown in too. Let's start by talking about the new enemy types added in. The first new enemy type, and my favourite, is the Draga with a spear and a shield. These enemies will first try and take you out from range, using their spears and throwing them at you to try and kill you, so you will have to move fast to stay out of their way. They can block pretty much all light attacks and can block most of your heavy attacks, so you'll have to use heavy attacks timed just right. You will basically want to use a well-placed heavy attack to knock the enemy off their balance and then follow it up with several light attacks, or just use your power. Sometimes the shield enemy will even try to charge at you to kill you. They are a great enemy and a fantastic addition to the game. It's also worth adding that they were in the last Hellblade, but they feel so much better and more fleshed out in this one to fight. One other enemy type introduced is the fat enemy type. They basically only do heavy attacks and take a lot more hitting to kill than normal ones. Yes, they are basically just fat enemies that take a lot more hits to kill, but my days are they an improvement from the last game's fat enemies, because they were so annoying to fight. This battle is great. The atmosphere, the music, everything about the fight is so good, and it can also be quite difficult on the harder difficulties in the game. I must say, I love how interactable this battle is as well. And what I mean by that is because there's people fighting all around you, settlers will be thrown into you. And even at one point within the battle, you can save a woman by clicking the kill button. This is a great inclusion to the battle, but it's something they only do here, and I wish it was something they did far more often, because it's really fun and adds that little bit of replayability to the game's chapter. The battle comes to an abrupt end. Senua looks around her and she can see the pain, instantly thinking that it's her fault. She sees a woman dying on the floor, but there is nothing she can do but watch. The guilt rapidly consumes Senua, and it's clear that she feels that this whole attack was her fault.
Watch it. More innocence dying in your arms. Look into her eyes. How could you? See what you have done.
It's at this point you can hear the familiar voice of Zinbel from behind you.
Can you feel it? Always coming.
All the death,
Yes,
all the suffering.
right there.
You have brought this on them.
He's right.
He has appeared now at Senua's weakest to try and convince her that this whole thing happened because of her. Sadly, the Furies are no help as they agree with Zinbel, and Senua slowly starts to break down. Senua announces that she can feel them, the lost ones, the people she couldn't save.
How will you keep going now? How will you live with yourself? With this heaviness. Yes, feel it. Let it wear you down. Feel it, Senua. I can feel it. You deserve to feel it. I can feel them on my skin. They will never leave you.
She even says that she will leave. It's clear that Senua is broken down at this point.
Inked in blood. Yes, you can see it, can't you? Blood on your hands. Haunting you forever.
It's all but clear that the events that have happened tonight have become far too much for her, and she simply doesn't know what to do. Just when we think it's all over for her, Astrid comes to help.
Are you hurt?
You don't deserve her help. Don't show her. Don't let her in.
Senua, when before, in this very moment she may have left, realizes that people now care about her and want to see her be okay, so she will do everything she can to help them, and she decides to try and push onwards. Senua asks Astrid if she still wants her help, but Astrid responds saying she does, as long as Senua has a plan, and a plan Senua does have.
Are you sure? You still want my help?
You can't help her. You are more than what your father thinks. You are nothing. Take her hand. Trust her. We can do this together.
That depends on the plan.
Go with her. She is too kind to you.
One really interesting detail that I've literally only just noticed is to show how close Senua was to being consumed by the darkness, by her dark thoughts. The screen is entrapping her and becoming black, but when Astrid appears, her friend, someone who cares about her, it becomes brighter again. Once more, we get a monologue talking about how Senua must help these people so that she can feel redeemed for the death that happened of so many the night before. She must kill the giant. She must help Astrid and her people, and nothing will stand in her way. Senua talks about her plan to kill the giant. Fargrimr will get to the ritual ready to remove the clouds. He will do this while Senua, Astrid, and Thorkester and Astrid's people draw out the giant to the ritual land. We cut to the beachfront where we can see the ritual ready, as well as a lot of Astrid's people and settlers ready to draw out the giant. They went to the cave to find the giant, and the atmosphere is dark at this point.
Wait. Listen. He knows my name. He saw me as I saw him.
You can't do this. Go back.
Saga approaches from the sea, and the Furies begin to tell Senua she will not be able to kill the giant this time.
It's coming. Look at the bones. It's coming. Look at the bones. That's going to be you. That's going to be everyone. Listen, what makes you think you stay down?
Senua knows she must do this. The giant's skin is cracked and looks shiny with the sea. Throwing a flaming torch, the giant begins to chase you. You can hear the sounds of death behind you, and you can even see it. Now have another running section. This one is very intense as the giant is literally right behind you. While running, sometimes you will need to stop to throw more flaming spears at the giant to slow it down. One funny little glitch that could actually occur at this section at launch with the giant, if you went into camera mode, would just completely disappear or would glitch and break, which is quite funny, I can't lie.
Look at that. Oh my god. Oh, look at that. He's not on fire. What is this?
Anyway, eventually the giant makes it to the ritual site, eating someone as he gets there and causing some serious damage to the ritual site's barricades. But then, in a split second, Saga stops and sees Senua and asks her for help in a quiet but desperate voice, just like the other giant. And just like before, it's at this moment where Senua is transported into Saga's mind.
I know you.
He needs you.
Entering the giant's mind, instead of seeing a fiery, hellish land we saw with the other giant, we see an equally deadly-ish, dangerous, roaring, flooded land. Directly in front of you, you can see a tornado ripping and tearing apart the land. This is where you must get to find Saga. You see, this boss fight is quite different than the last one. While in the other one you had to dodge the deadly fire that would turn you to ashes, this one you have to hold on for dear life as the water tries to pull you and suck you into the treacherous sea. The first phase is simple: run for each piece of cover and hold on for dear life as the waves try and suck you in. The second section is the same, just this time the waves come into shore a lot quicker. So just like in the other boss fight for the second phase, you will have to move a lot faster. The third section, once more, the waves instantly speed up, and overall the deadliness picks up and you must run faster and hold tighter to survive. By the fourth section, the waves become so powerful, much like the fire in the fourth section of the first boss fight with Eltoga, that they begin to break cover you're hiding behind, so you will have to be ready to constantly be on the move. But this time something different happens. Instead of you reaching the giant, there is a fifth section where the tornado chucks debris at you, which you will have to try and avoid. Granted, the deaths in this phase do heavily rely on RNG, but I must say overall it makes the atmosphere and intensity of the boss fight so much better, and overall I would say it's a positive to the game. Overall I would say this is a pretty good boss fight actually, and I find the mechanics in this one to be extremely satisfying. However, I would say it's a step down from the previous boss fight, and I would say this just because I felt that the last boss fight, the phases felt different and a lot more different. For example, the first two phases are just you hiding behind cover from the fire, and then the next phase is the fire can blow up your cover, so you have to move quick, and then there's even a running section put in at the end. And don't get me wrong, all of that is in this boss fight, but none of it is new. And also throughout the first boss fight you're cutting down chains, which I think just adds to the boss fight experience overall. But gameplay wise, they're both really similar and they're both great in terms of atmosphere, story and music. So far, 3 really solid boss fights. Approaching Sergiu, you can hear him say that he is sorry for what he did. You see him begging for help, and on approach, touching him, you relieve him of his pain, killing him at once. Turning him into stone in the real world, giving him that rest he so desperately wanted. Senua collapses onto the floor. It's clear that killing giants has some kind of negative effect on him. This time, Thorkester runs over, and he says it clearly that killing the giants makes Senua weaker.
It weakens you. Each death. Does it hurt you?
She doesn't.
Can you keep going?
She is so hurt, so broken. She needs to see.
The biggest fight is ahead.
Always.
The giant of Borgavarki is strong.
We are
But I believe in you.
He asks if Senua wants to keep going, and of course she says yes. Thorkester reassures Senua that he now fully believes in her and that he will help her. It's quite a touching scene seeing how far Thorkester has come.
But I believe in you.
Together.
I want the bloodshed to end. Are you ready?
He will stop the sacrifices. And she will fulfill her promise. She is ready. We are ready.
Even down to the little pat he gives Senua on the back after she kills the giant. It just shows how much he believes in her and how much he now cares about her. This of course also speaks volumes for Senua's character and how she now finally has good people around her who care about her. The end monologue talks about how while the death of giants does weaken Senua, it will never stop her, as she must be strong for the people around her. I must say, I love chapter 5 and I think it's my favourite chapter in the whole game. We just get so much in this chapter, so much from the story, the music, the gameplay. It is the chapter that I love the most, and it's the chapter that I love to play. Chapter 6 starts with Senua walking with Thorkester, talking to him about Bordaviki. Thorkester informs Senua that Bordaviki is safe, but lacks any emotion during the winter.
But the people are fed, and housed, and safe.
Safe. She knows why they're safe. Safe because of the blood.
What were you going to do when you reached it? Before you knew about the giants?
Thorkester then asks a very interesting question. He asks Senua what her plan was, what she was going to do when she entered Bordavik before she knew she could kill the giants.
What to do when you reached it, before you knew about the giants. Kill my father.
I came here to stop him taking my people as slaves. I think I could have killed him.
She might.
To make it all stop. But I didn't know everything then.
Senua seems unsure what she would have done herself. She says she came to free the slaves and she would have killed Thorkester's father if she had to. But in a moment of self-reflection, Senua says that maybe killing Thorkester's father would solve nothing, as someone might just take his place.
Would someone else have taken his place and kept the blood flowing?
They all believe in love.
He couldn't see any way to be different.
To show him, show all of them. Show them how to fight the giants.
But now...
It's different. It's different.
You and Thorkester catch up with Thargrimr and Astrid. Astrid are probably staying with you because she thinks she's in debt to Senua because obviously Senua killed the giant at her settlement. There seems to be a thick forest in front of you which none of your fellow companions want to venture through, as it's known for changing people.
We shouldn't go through here.
No.
Why not? What is this place?
Why?
Those who enter here don't always come back.
What does he mean?
We could go around it, or we would need to backtrack. And it would add a day or two to the journey.
More than a day or two if we're dead.
And changing them in the worst kind of way. Once more, it seems like we're given a choice here, as Thargrimr suggests we go around the forest, but this would take a lot longer. But nah, Senua insists on going straight through the murder forest, which everyone who comes back from is changed most of the time, and everyone in your group is shit scared of. Great plan. Senua instructs her companions to stay close to her and they all head off. As you go deep into the forest, the others begin to wonder what sort of mystical thing haunts these woods and makes it so dangerous. Senua asks exactly how the forest changes people, and Astrid responds saying that people come back as if they have forgot something, as if they have lost a part of themselves within the forest.
The hidden folk will help us.
Those that make it out.
It could be something worse.
They come back. Changed.
Changed how? What does that mean?
Changed how?
Fearful. Scattered. Like they left something behind.
They left their souls behind. Don't lose your soul, Senua.
The group can feel things all around them. You even can hear a screech in the distance, the same kind of screech you heard back when you were doing the Hidden Folks trials.
What's that noise?
After walking for a while, you loop back round in a circle. Astrid is clearly scared and Thorkester is growing impatient.
Do you hear that?
What?
Something is following
What does
us.
she hear?
Just alongside. Listen.
I think I can hear it.
We passed this way before.
This place is shifting.
We're going in circles.
Senua turns around and sees that her friends are gone. Something is seriously wrong here. The world suddenly darkens and Senua desperately tries to look for her friends, all while the Furies are telling her that this is her fault.
Now you let them get taken? How could you? It's your fault. She didn't want to come here with you. You made her.
Once more, you hear the familiar voice of Zinbel telling Senua that this is completely her fault, as she brought them into the forest and now she will never be able to find them.
You brought them here. Now they are lost.
You brought them here to die. Don't listen to him. They followed you.
Doomed to die alone in darkness.
The Furies almost try and play tricks on Senua, telling her that it's her fault, all while at the same time telling her it's not her fault. You find Astrid and you can see that she is terrified and she can't see Senua.
Senua, is that you?
She's terrified. So lost.
I thought I'd lost you.
Lost in
I'm
darkness.
here. Where are the others?
I don't know. I turned around and you were all gone.
Astrid explains she doesn't know what to do as she can't fight something she can't see. Senua comforts Astrid and tells her that it will be okay, motivating her to continue. The two of you talk and Senua says she will try to get to her. Continuing onwards, you see Thargrimr. He seems completely lost and doesn't seem to know what's going on.
Now me.
Yes.
Before my eyes.
He can't see.
Inside my head.
He has lost himself. Lost himself to the darkness. He can't stay here.
I try to have faith.
You need more than faith.
To keep them from falling apart.
Senua, just like before with Astrida, comforts Fargrimr and tells him he can make it through this. Basically, she's just handing out motivational speeches at this point.
Come true! Do it!
You come across an opening where you can see two paths, one leading to Fargrimr and one leading to Astrida. This is a choice. Well, of course, that is if you see Fargrimr, because in my first playthrough, I didn't even see Fargrimr, so I just chose Astrida and didn't even know there was a choice to be made. But anyway, finally, you are about to have a choice. Help Fargrimr or help Astrida. Now, once I realised there was a choice to be made, I actually panicked quite a lot, because I thought this would be very important. I thought whatever character you didn't try and help, the other would die. So I went with Fargrimr. But, no matter who you pick, literally 20 seconds later, you'll meet them further down the path. But hey, who knows, maybe the one you didn't pick has become changed. You find Thorkester on a rock. He's clearly terrified.
What happened to you?
Something terrible.
I think I saw.
What did he see? Something changed him.
Something I had to do.
What was it? What did he have to do?
I didn't want to do it. He forced my hand.
Who? Something terrible.
Who?
A vision.
No. It's nothing.
He said he saw something he had to do, and it shocked him, so much so that he won't even tell anyone what it was he saw. As you leave the forest, a monologue plays, talking about who may have been changed and who is going to stay the complete same, hinting obviously at the choice you made having a big consequence. Okay, so I need to rant about this section for a minute because in my opinion it's the worst part of the whole game. This section, this whole forest section, literally means jack shit. Okay, so you enter this big, bad, scary forest, and the forest is so scary that the others wanted to go around it. But what happens in this massive, dense, scary forest? You hear some spooky noises, you lose your friends for a little bit, the place goes dark, you find your friends, and then you fuck off and leave. And that is literally it. It's as simple as that. And you may be saying, well, Truth, what about the decision you had to make? And to that, I would say, what decision? Because, spoiler alert, the decision makes no fucking difference whatsoever. At no point, at 0 point, does Fargrimr or Astrida say or do anything different depending on what decision or choice you made. And I mean this for the whole rest of the game. Not just this section, the whole rest of the game, the whole rest of this chapter. The game hints that this is a big deal because one of you has quote-unquote changed, but this isn't true. Senua hasn't changed, and nor has Fargrimr or Astrida. The interactions, the movement, the dialogue, none of it changes throughout the rest of the game, making the choice completely pointless. Of course, there is Thorkester too, who seems quite shaken up. But does he act changed to the next part of the game's segment? No. It's as simple as this. I think Thorkester had a vision about the future and he was shocked by it. That's literally it. And there's no change here. He sees the fucking future. He's not gonna stop it. He just does it and he's shocked by it. If you took this section out the game, literally nothing would change. It's an infuriatingly pointless part of the game, which on a first playthrough, it might convince you it's really important and has big stakes, but on a second playthrough, it just seems dumb, stupid, and a waste of time, and it's laughably funny how pointless it is. Senua's saga at a push is 7 hours long. Why would you put something this pointless in the game? And the problem is, it stands out like a sore thumb. Throughout the whole game, they have been teasing the player with the ability to make a choice for themselves, and then when they get that ability, it's the most nothing burger choice you will ever have in your life. I know it's probably not as big a deal as I'm making it sound, but it's just so infuriating when the game is as short as it is, and they throw in a nothing burger section. In the final chapter of the game, by the way. Anyway, whew. I need to take a minute now. Anyway, you end the Nothing Burger section with Thorkester happily looking over at Bordavik, saying that that is the settlement and they need to go there immediately. We get a hard cut to Bordavik, and a monologue talks about how Senua has finally made it to her final goal. The four of you find slaves tied to poles. This is what the Bordavik have been using as offerings for the giants. And it's here where we truly see what sort of background Thorkester comes from, and we start to doubt whether he truly could have changed that much.
How can they?
What is that?
Make it stop, Senua.
That is
You have to.
where we sacrifice the offerings.
Monster.
People. Thorkester.
Yes. People.
It's where you sacrifice people.
People.
It's where you tie them up and watch them die.
Slowly release them.
We have to rescue them.
Go inside. I'll tell my father, and he will cut them down.
Light is fading fast.
They're suffering.
Thorkester, however, seems dead set on doing the right thing. Senua comes up with a plan. Fargrimr and Astrida will cut down the slaves while Thorkester and Senua go inside the settlement and talk to Thorkester's father. On the way to the fortress's front door, the Furies talk about whether or not they can truly trust Thorkester.
All the blood, all the fire, everything she's seen carried on a hidden tide. This is the end, the point where light vanishes. And yet it is a pale and quiet place. Hush.
Senua can feel that Thorkester is scared, so she asks him straight up why he's worried, and he replies, saying he was not supposed to come back empty-handed. But he tries to reassure you that it's fine, because once he tells his father the news that he's brought, everything will be okay.
Something is wrong with him. Something's not right. He is frightened.
You're worried.
I wasn't supposed to come back empty-handed.
You'd have dragged you here in chains, Senua.
But all's well. He'll forget about that when he hears what we have to tell him.
But has he changed? I don't trust anything he's saying. He wants to change, does he?
Senua asks Thorkester if she will be chained up by the Bordavik, but Thorkester says he won't let that happen. It makes you truly realize how much faith you're placing in Thorkester to get you in there safely.
They've spotted us. Will they want to chain me up again?
I won't let that happen.
Getting to the front gate, Thorkester takes the lead, and while there is a moment of intensity, Thorkester gets you in, as you can truly see how much he cares for the people of Bordaverki.
Is he strong enough?
Gods.
Are you strong enough?
I thought you were dead. Me? Dead? I would see you dead first, Halfdan.
He plays their game. He talks their talk.
It is good to see you, my friend. She's with me. The others.
Thorkester gets you in, and now you must continue forward. The soldiers of Bordaverki look extremely strong, armoured to the teeth. We can see how no other settlement was able to take on the Björk. Walking with Thorkester, you can hear him talking to his friend about the storm that hit them. Looking around you, you can see the large built settlement with high quality looking houses, and all over looks like a safe place. The Björk had it good here. The Furies in Senua's head talk about how it's going to be extremely hard to convince Thorkester's father about the giants, but it's something she must do. You enter a long, large, cold room. This is where Thorkester's father resides. The Furies talk about who I think is Zinbel and how they can feel his presence strongly here. The Furies talk about how Senua's father and Thorkester's father are one and the same, and therefore they will be unable to change, but they must try anyway. We see him sitting at the end of the large room in a throne with someone next to him. The Godi stands up and welcomes Thorkester back. He's a fat, unkept man and almost looks dirty with ignorance. He says he feared the worst for Thorkester, and he said this with as much care as I have for Sussy Side Squad Kill the Mid-League.
Thorkester, my boy, you've returned.
The Godi. It makes my skin crawl. This isn't going to work.
When we did not hear from you, I fear the worst.
Thorkester apologizes, explaining what happened, but says there's something very important he must tell his father. Thorkester tells him that Senua can kill the giants, but he clearly does not believe her.
Father, listen. The giants, they can be killed.
I can kill them. We can kill them.
This woman Senua, she knows how.
He won't believe you. Give him a chance. Look in his eyes. Show him who you are.
A souvenir that kills giants.
The Godi then says something very important for later. He says that he is the only one that can keep the giants at bay.
You cannot defy the giants. I alone know how to keep them at bay.
Senua explains to Thorkester that there will be no way of swaying his father, but Thorkester insists on trying to convince him. In a moment's notice, Senua is taken hostage as the Godi accuses Thorkester of being here to overthrow him.
This is some trick to overthrow us and destroy all we have built.
No.
You will watch beside me tonight as the giant takes his tribute.
Get out.
See how indomitable, how terrifying it is.
There will be no tribute.
See how there is no chance in hell you could defeat it.
We have defeated them.
And see how I turn it aside.
how I control it.
The Godi says that Thorkester will watch the sacrifices be eaten tonight to show him how the Godi is the only one that can stop and control the giants. In this moment of desperation and dread, Thorkester does nothing but follow his father. A man runs up to the Godi, telling him that the giant is coming and all the sacrifices are gone. Senua is knocked out and then begins to be taken to the gate. You wake up outside, Thorkester nowhere to be seen, being dragged by 2 soldiers. You can hear Zinbel in your head, and in that moment, in a fit of rage, Senua breaks free. Now I don't know why the soldiers didn't take her sword off her, but oh well, I guess. The soldiers here are strong, and every hit must be well timed to even break through their armor. The last new enemy type is introduced, and he is a soldier with a long axe. He pretty much only does heavy attacks, and taking more than 2 of these will guarantee you an instant kill pretty much. So you will have to be fast to dodge these attacks. Fargrimma and Astrida come up to you, and Astrida asks where Thorkester is. It's clear she thinks he has betrayed you.
He was weak. I don't know.
He didn't try to stop them.
I knew we couldn't trust him.
Yes, she is
Where's
right.
the body? We kill him. Now.
Wait!
End this.
Senua, we need to kill the giant right here, right now, in front of the Björk.
Fargrimma says that Senua needs to kill the giant, while Astrida says that Senua needs to kill the Godi, but Senua truly this time does not know what to do.
Fargrimma, I don't know.
She can't. She doesn't know his name. Thorkester.
Come on.
He needs you. Maybe it's a trick.
She can't fight the giant without knowing its name, and she can't fight the Godi without finding him. You hear the voice of Thorkester in the distance, and you decide to head in that direction. You enter what looks like a large arena, and your allies are taken hostage. You have been caught in a trap, and now you must desperately try to fight. In an attempt to kill you, the Godi throws every man he has at you. The Godi grabs Senua and tells her that now she will be food for the giants. The Godi now talks as if he is one with the shadow, one with Zinbel.
We have an understanding here. Unspoken connection. I give him blood, and he gives me power.
Thorkester comes out from the mist and says enough is enough. He draws his sword on his father.
Question me? You have lived through this with me, seen all I have seen, and you question me? The only one who knows what to do in this new world. The only one. Do you hear me?
Once more, his father, the Godi, begins to imitate Zinbel perfectly.
You will fall in line like the others, or you will die.
But then, at once, the world freezes, and the Hidden Folk's voice can be heard. And it's here where the Hidden Folk finally admit that they chose Senua. They now will reveal to her the giant's backstory. They tell the story of the end times. In the end times, people turned against each other. There was no hope for trust in anyone. But one man united them all together. He was a good-hearted man at the time. The man used fear to make people trust him, as he saw that that would work. But as the land became good once more, people started to think for themselves and do things for themselves and stop following the man. So in a desperate attempt to get his power back that he so desperately sought, he brought the giants from their world to his, so that the people would once more obey him. He knew that he would forever be powerful because he had brought the giants to the land. Cutting back to reality, we see Thorkester badly beaten by the Godi. The Godi asks why Thorkester turned his back on him, and then stabs him through the chest.
My boy, why did you have to turn your back on me?
Thorkester slowly reaches his arm out and Senua takes it. Thorkester says that if he had never met Senua, maybe the next person in line after the Godi would have been him, and he would have been as ignorant and stupid. Thorkester says it's up to Senua to redeem his people. And it's here where it hits you. You must do both. Kill the Godi, and you must kill the giant. Because the Godi controls the giants. Killing the Godi will stop the giants. Thorkester tells Senua his father's name, and now you must fight him.
I have to show them a different way. You have to redeem them.
How? How do I stop this?
You came to stop the sacrifices. Kill the giant.
Father. The tyrant.
My father's name
One name.
is only fear.
You will end this. End this, Senua.
This boss fight is intense. The music, the sound design, the voice acting is all on point. The Godi is extremely dangerous and you will need to dodge his powerful attacks. You will have to do this while returning the favor by hitting him back until he puts his sword on the ground. Once this happens, you can activate your mirror power and go after him. By this time, he almost completely sounds like Zynbel and his voice has been merged with his.
You're nothing. They won't hear you.
Thorkester's voice guides you throughout the fight. After 2 phases of the fight, Senua confronts him, telling him that there are no giants, only him.
There are no giants, it's just you.
Saying this breaks the illusion of power that he had over him. Zynbel's voice disappears and all you are left with is a slow old man who has fear in his voice. Better yet, the crowd around him even chucks him back into the arena, the same crowd that are his people. They're not even on his side anymore. He is an easy kill. He falls to the floor and the battle is over. This is an incredible boss fight. Considering there's 4 boss fights in the whole game, I'm glad they ended the last one with a sword fight replicating the start of the whole game. The stakes are as high as ever and the boss fight itself is fun and entertaining. Senua drops her weapons and jumps on top of the Godi. The two wrestle on the ground for a moment before Senua finds a rock and raises it above her head. And it's here, just like when she did this with Thorkester, Zynbel says she will be just like him. She will become him. We get an incredibly powerful shot which mirrors the one you had with Thorkester at the start of the game, where Senua must now make the choice to kill the Godi or to let him live. You can hear Fargrimr and Astrida arguing in the background over what you should do.
How can I? He brought you people here to murder us. No peace in meeting death with death.
Senua is stuck, unknowing what to do. She is overrun with feelings and emotions, and in that moment of realization, Senua can see the same darkness in her that is in the man below her and her father above her. And now Senua must make a true choice. The choice to be her mother's child, a fearful leader who makes choices unsure if they will work, but does it for the hope that her people will be okay. Or to become a strong, power-driven leader who leads with fear.
Part of me wants to let go of the fear. Let go of my shadows. And be free. No more pain. No more doubt. Honored. Loved. Feared. Always true. Always right. Because they tell me so. Keeping them safe. Keeping their belief alive. No matter the cost.
Senua does not know what to do. Senua questions her fate.
Can I choose my way?
We are not our fathers. There is always a choice. You taught me that.
We will choose. Together.
You decide.
The final narration talks about how all Senua wants to do is save those around her, but now she does not know what to do, but she has a choice to make. And that is where the game ends. What a game, and I have said so much about it, but there is still a little bit more I need to address before I can give my final ultimate review. Now, some people had a problem with the ending of Hellblade 2 because, in case you couldn't notice, the game leaves you on a cliffhanger. Now, this within itself I don't think is a bad thing. I don't think anyone actually has a problem with the game having a cliffhanger ending. I think people have a problem with the game only being 7 hours, getting to the end, and then getting blue balls.
No. Wait.
Okay, so what does the 7-hour game actually have in terms of content? Well, you have the main story, the camera mode, and 3 different types of collectibles to get, which includes this really fucking annoying face, which is so hard to find, and a talking fucking tree.
Right.
Well, it's not really a talking tree, but it pretty much is. After completing the main story, you do unlock a really cool narrative feature where you can go back and play the game, but have the narrator be different characters from within the game. This is a really cool feature, but it's not enough to keep your average player wanting to replay the game's main story over again. There's no online, there's no PvE, there's no wave-based mode. Hell, there is no other modes other than the story, unless you want to count the camera mode. And I think the thing that pisses people off the most is that the game costs $50 on Xbox.
Yes, I do. I have $7 because you click on this and you fucking pocketed it. This is the only...
Which is a crazy amount for a 7-hour story game. Honestly, if this game was 20 quid or maybe even 25 quid, I don't think people would have a problem with this whatsoever. But the fact that it's only 7 hours and there's not even a fucking disc version really pisses people off, and I can understand why. Okay, so sadly, I also need to address that this game had quite a few bugs and glitches when it first came out. This includes so many, and I mean so many accounts of things clipping through things and just breaking. For many users, many game crashes on PC, and also an overall bit of jankiness on the performance level. This is such a shame, and it's something that should not be happening from a AAA company that is backed by Microsoft. It's just intolerable, and it shouldn't be happening, especially considering this game is only 7 hours long. Okay, on a positive note, the music for this game is actually amazing. It fits the world's atmosphere incredibly well, and I love the Viking music. It just goes with Hellblade so lovely. To have your music stand out in a game is so hard because there are so many games with so many amazing tracks of music. But I can assure you, I will not be forgetting Hellblade 2's soundtrack, nor stop listening to it for a while, and that is saying something in this industry. Now let me quickly talk about the photo mode in Hellblade 2, because it's a great addition to the game. There's so much you can do in this mode, and you can activate it at any time in the game, and that includes cutscenes, which is just so cool. It's an awesome addition to the game, and also can be very funny at times to mess around with. Now, I have to be straight up and honest here. I do not care about games' graphics, but in this case, my views are slightly different. This game's graphics is unlike anything I have ever seen before, and they are truly incredible and outright gorgeous. I have never ever in my entire life seen a game with as good graphics as this one, and that is certainly worth praising. Hellblade 2 is overall quite a fair game in its difficulty, and a very helpful game in its options, as there are many different settings for you to mess around with if you do so please. You can also change the game's difficulty at any given time, so the game never feels too hard. Just want to quickly say, and shove out a really controversial opinion here, I think Marina Hergens is the best video game actress ever. She is incredible in Hellblade 2, and every actor in Hellblade 2 does an immaculate job. Amazing stuff, guys. Now, the end really important question comes down to, is Hellblade 2 better than Hellblade 1? Well, story-wise, I would say yes. I personally find Hellblade 2's story more engaging and more impactful than Hellblade 1's. Gameplay is another story, however, because while I think Hellblade 2's puzzles are far better than Hellblade 1's, I think that Hellblade 1's core gameplay is probably on the same tier as Hellblade 2's. Hellblade 2 probably does enemy variety a lot better than Hellblade 1, but then Hellblade 1 probably does boss fights just a little bit better than Hellblade 2. Both Hellblade 1 and Hellblade 2 have incredible music, but Hellblade 2 does suffer with a lot of bugs still, but then again, Hellblade 1 still suffers with bugs and the game's like 5 years old. Which means I sadly have to say, all in all, both games are on par with each other really, because Hellblade 2 doesn't really introduce any new massive gameplay mechanic or story element that really ups it above Hellblade 1. So that really leaves it up to you and me to decide which ones are our favorite. And I'm not going to put that in here because that's just writing off either one of the games for my personal opinion. In conclusion, there is no game in the games industry quite like Hellblade 2 or even Hellblade 1 for that matter. But that being said, Hellblade 2 is a flawed game. It's overpriced, had a lot of bugs at launch, and is very short. Also there's the forest section, so there's that too. But don't get me wrong, the game is not bad by any means. The gameplay is really solid, the story is fantastic, and the graphics are out of this world incredible. The game's music is also just so good. So for these reasons, I'm going to give my final score, and my ultimate review of Hellblade 2 is going to be a 6 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for your support, and if you've made it to the end of this video, please do consider liking and subscribing. I truly appreciate it so much. It means the world to me, and thank you for being patient with me and uploading this video. This is some of my best work. I'm so happy with this work, and just thank you all for watching this, and thank you all for taking the time to watch this. God bless you all. I hope you're well. I hope you're all staying safe. I'll be continuing the Fallout content. I'm going to do a video on Ubisoft soon, and then there'll be more reviews, so more uploads, much quicker. Just wanted to get this out. Thank you guys ever so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Stay safe, guys. Peace.